Welcome, everybody. This is your workshop for the week, and it is all about the A organs and the SU organs. Although I'm sure some of the other organs can get something out of this as well. Stop me if you have a question, and please get out a pencil or a pen and some paper and take notes. Take notes. You can then transfer your notes or use these as additional notes. I have printed out what I actually would like to do today. Today we're going to work on the hardest part of the organ. The hardest part of the organ, which is reds, blues, and tabs. Okay, that seems to be the number one problem with people. They always say, well, I like the sound up here, but I don't like the sound down here. How do I change that? What can I do? You know, we have talked in the past about how to steal a preset. Well, if you steal a preset, you're stealing both top and bottom. So if you use category presets or you use rhythm presets, you're always going to get something top and bottom. But you don't always like the combination of the two. So this will help you to understand where the sounds are actually coming from, and so you can understand how to change the sounds if you need to change the top because you like the bottom, or you want to change the bottom because you like the top. You have to know how to understand this section of the instrument. And when you first get them, and I have two lovely ladies sitting behind me here, so they may stop me with some questions as well. They're brand new SU organ owners, and so they have these same things and the same questions. How do I change this? What do I do here? So if they stop me, then we'll continue having questions. You might want to get your manuals out, because your manuals have a picture of that section. Your orchestrals are reds. Your solos are blue. Or if you're in front of your instrument, you can actually just see that's exactly what those are. They're slightly different on certain instruments, but basically all of the SUs and As look like that. Now, yes, if you've got a Liberty or you have a Sterling, they've actually simplified it and just put the Genius buttons, 2 red Genius buttons and 2 blue Genius buttons. They've just totally simplified it, but it's still the same process for trying to find your sounds. Okay? Questions so far? All right. I also want you to find your manual. You have a Genius voice list, because those 2 Genius buttons, and you also should have a tab that says Genius, those are like the blank tiles in the Scrabble box, which means you can make those anything. Anything. So that's why with the Sterlings and the Patriots and the Liberties, they actually decided, well, why do I need all these buttons if they're all in Genius anyway? And that's true. You can find them whenever you want. And there's 2 ways to find your Genius sounds. They're in alphabetical order if you scroll, but they also have these handy-dandy numbers next to them. And I'm going to show you how to quickly find sounds with the numbers. Now, there were a couple of lovely ladies that last night were working on my Cracklin' Rosie presets, and they tried to get the edit style, which we're not going to work on today, but they tried to change their edit style sounds with the numbers. You cannot change edit style sounds with numbers. The edit style numbers are to change your Geniuses. And if you actually look on your organ, you'll see that you have Genius buttons all over. All over. So you have red Geniuses, blue Geniuses, and upper tab Geniuses. That is for your melody notes. You also have Geniuses in your theaters and in your pedals, and you have Geniuses in everything else, your lowers, but we're not going to deal with any of those. We're only dealing with our right hand melody sounds in the upper keyboard and the lower keyboard.
So Dawn, excuse me, Inez, So on mine where it says Orchestral Genius 1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yep.
that's still just for the right hand. It's not for the chords.
That's not for the chords.
Okay.
Yep. Not for the chords. Now, it can be. I don't want to say never, never, because what you have here is you have some commands. Now, I didn't want to quite get to that yet. First of all, let's take a look at your tabs. Your tabs are divided into lowers and uppers.
Yeah.
Your theaters, by the way, if you've got a wing over here with purple theaters, those also go to your uppers.
Huh.
Okay? Don't forget about those. They're over there. But these are the ones that if you see the colors, your red upper master tab, right in the middle, that controls all of your upper tabs, not including your theater tabs. So if I turn that off, it doesn't matter how many of these are pushed. I will have nothing from tabs sounding here, nothing. But you can have them all ready to go, and the minute you touch your upper tabs on, then all of a sudden all your tabs will sound. Upper tabs only go to the upper keyboard. Only. Now, if you're on here and you've got a Rialto or an Inspire, you have a button that's, you have a tab that says you can put those tabs to the lower. This is not about Rialtos, although you can get something out of it. On the SUs and the A's, your upper tabs only go to the upper keyboard. Those sounds. You have clear tabs, and it says flutes. Those are organ sounds. Organ sounds. You also have yellow tabs. Your yellow tabs are always strings. Your brown tab is a vocal ensemble. And then you have a grayish black one at the end that should say upper genius. That's the one that you can change to make anything you want. Don't forget that he's there. We're going to turn off all those upper tabs. And we're now going to go to the reds and the blues. Okay. The red orchestrals. Orchestrals, you can have as many different sounds, and I mean by sounds, I mean polyphony, like making a chord. You can have 3 notes playing at a time. You can have 8 notes playing at a time, 9, 10, however much your polyphony holds. And on these wonderful Lowrys, they hold a lot. Okay, that's the ones that your harmony will affect. Solo means 1. So if you have on a solo sound, and we're going to talk about how to get those all on, it's only going to have your sounds. I need to get this on a different preset here. If you have on your upper sounds, you cannot play a chord. It's only going to play the top note. Solo means 1, so it's only going to play 1 note at a time. Now what's cool about that is you can combine a solo 1 note, and you can combine with an orchestral that's going to give you 4 or 5 notes, polyphony, or 2 if you use a duet, but that solo note is still going to stay on the uppermost note. Only 1. And then you can have like a piano playing a chord underneath it. All right, so the problem is always which sounds are going where, because when you use your presets, if you touch anything over here and anything here, all of a sudden all the lights change. Where are those sounds going, and what's coming out of these things right here? You need to understand where those lights are going. And now you can, after this lesson today, you'll be able to actually quiz yourself and turn on any rhythm preset you want and say, okay, before I even look and see what it is, what is going to my upper and what's going to my lower? And see if you can figure it out just from what you learned today. It is the most confusing part of the instrument. Okay, so let's start. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you about the commands. You have commands on either side of your reds and blues. You have an upper on you have a lower left and you have a lower right for your red orchestrals. Those commands just tell the sound where it's going. Now, for all intents and purposes, we are not going to use lower left. So you can actually kind of put an X through that, lower left. What does lower left do? It puts it in the lower chord. So when somebody was asking me about lower chord, yeah, you can actually put one of these sounds into a lower chord. We very rarely use it. So for all intents and purposes, cross out lower left. We're only going to deal with upper on and lower right. The solo side, your commands are upper on, lower right, and then you have a lower octave. The two commands we're worried about is where is it going? Is it going to the upper? Is it going to the lower? Is it going to the upper? Is it going to the lower right? Those are the commands we're worried about. The octave just changes the pitch in the perfect octave so that you can go diagonally and get the perfect sound in that lower hand.
Dawn,
Yes?
your handout there, what page is it in the manual? Is it in the manual?
This right here should be in the manual. You should
You
have
know
a
what
picture.
page?
I don't know which page. Nope.
Oh, okay, just have to look for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your orchestral and your solo sections, and it should be in a manual someplace.
Page 44.
Thank you.
44, thank you.
Now, every manual is going to be a little different, so, you know, that's, if it's not on page 44, look
Oh,
someplace else.
44, yes.
Yeah.
Orchestra and solo section.
Okay, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I didn't get your name, but thank you.
That was Ken.
Ken.
Ken, thank you, Ken.
Okay, so let's start. If you're in front of your instrument, keep yourself muted and go ahead and press some of these buttons that I'm pressing, and it'll help you to understand. If you don't have that, then at least you've got this chart in front of you so you can see what's going on. Okay, so red. If I press, let's get everything off. I'm just going to turn everything off, and we are going to have on our upper keyboard nothing. I just turned all the sound off, so I got nothing going on. Now, I am going to choose a piano, which is the first button on orchestral, red, and I am going to touch upper on. One sound, one command. So where is that piano going? It's going up. Is it going down? Nope, because I'm not telling it to go down. If I tell it to go down, lower right. Now it's down. So I'm just telling that one sound where to go, to the upper keyboard or to the lower keyboard.
Dawn, I
Yes.
don't, I hear what you're saying, but all I see is a French horn.
Uh-huh, that's fine.
I don't see a piano there at all. I have
That's
upper,
because you have a Genius button. If you've got a Genius button, you'd have to scroll to a piano. Don't worry about it.
so
Pick one of your Geniuses, one
So I have to-
sound.
the Genius button.
Yeah, just touch one of your Genius buttons, and it might say French horn, and that's fine.
Is that
And then
okay?
tell it to go up, up or on. One sound, one command.
I pressed you're talking about, not talking about the Genius button under the golden harp. You're talking about. on
Oh,
top.
no, under the orchestral.
Okay, all right. Under,
Orchestral, yep.
so touch,
One
the-
sound.
would it be the solo Genius or?
Nope, the orchestral Genius. One sound, one
All right.
command.
Okay.
You
then
can
now
tell it
let's-
to go up, or
Okay.
you can tell it to go down,
So
tell
I
it to
do
go
the
both places.
scroll with that?
or you can tell it to go both places. So the command, the red commands are going to tell that sound where it's going. Is it going to the upper keyboard?
Well, how would I get to the piano then?
You don't worry about the piano. It's just one
Okay.
sound, one command.
Okay, so,
You'd have to scroll to get to your piano, so don't worry about it.
all right.
Okay?
On,
Yes?
how do you eliminate all the sounds from the top keyboard? I've got everything off and I'm still getting sound in the top keyboard.
Check your theater. Check your theater. Check over here at your theater.
Okay,
Turn
I'm
those all
still
off
getting
too.
sound.
Yep. Turn off all your tabs.
All my tabs are all tabs.
Yeah.
Upper and lower tabs too.
Just the upper tabs. Turn them off.
Okay, I got, all right.
And then one sound from orchestral red. I just happen to have chosen a piano. And one command. Up. And then I can choose two commands. Up, down. And if I go up and down, it goes both places.
Do I hit the Genius, the orchestral
Yeah,
Genius?
just touch a
first?
Genius. Yeah, one sound. Doesn't matter what sound. And just tell it where it's going, up or down. Or
Okay.
both.
All right.
Okay.
I got it.
Got it? Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Now let's turn those off.
Okay.
Blue. We're going to pick one sound. Let's just pick one what's there. Violin. Tell it to go up with a blue. Now remember, it's only one sound. Solo means one. So I cannot play a chord with that. Here's something tricky about the Lowrys. I can turn off the blue upper on and turn the red upper on, and the violin is now an orchestral sound. Really?
Mm.
Wow. Okay, that's an important one because you can have one sound on in your blue solo, and if you have no sounds in your orchestrals, you can tell that blue sound to go through your red upper on, and it'll become an orchestral sound. So you may have one upper on. Now if you put blue upper on, you've turned it back into a solo. So you have either red or blue upper on command works for the blues. That's a hard thing to understand as well. The only time a blue sound will be polyphonic, meaning you can make a chord out of it, is if you have red upper on and no red orchestral sounds chosen. That is kind of hard. So blue, one sound. You can have either the red upper on or the blue upper on. That one's kind of tough to understand. Now, what happens if I choose one sound from red? Let's choose a piano again, just for fun. Then I'm going to choose the violin, and I'm going to put blue upper on. So I've got to have one sound from each, and both upper ons, red and blue. Okay, so one sound from red, one sound from blue, and upper on. So what happened? I will now have a piano and a violin layered on top of each other. You hear them both playing at the same time? Yes. Same thing happens if you send them both to the lower keyboard. You could send both the sounds to the lower keyboard. Okay.
Now, how do you change the instruments? Like mine came up French horn.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
If you've got one that just has geniuses, that's why I wanted you to find your manual and get to your sounds page.
Okay.
You can make that genius any sound you want, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So red two sounds. I can also have two sounds from red and send them both up. So let's say I want to have a country guitar and some strings. Okay? One of them's going to flash. Don't worry about that right now. One command, two sounds from red. Country guitar, strings. Just choose both your geniuses and see what happens. Two sounds at the same time, going up. One command. I can do that with blue. I can take two sounds. Let's take bells and society piano. Doesn't matter which two. Doesn't matter which one's flashing. I'll explain that in a minute too. If I have upper on, two sounds red, two sounds blue, they're all going to the upper keyboard. All 4 sounds. Four sounds going on at one time. Pretty cool, huh? And how do I know that? Because there's only one command from each section. Now, it gets really
On.
dicey. Yes.
When I turn on the orchestral,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I go over to the blue section, anything I touch over there turns off whatever I've got on the orchestral side.
Yep, that's going to do that if you do not have on the blue upper on. That's where I said it gets kind of tricky. If you've got red upper on and you choose a blue sound, remember now that blue sound, there's no commands in the blue section. Blue section, all the commands are off.
Yeah.
Upper on is on, and I've got a jazz flute chosen in the solo. But I can play many notes at a time. And guess what? When I touch a jazz guitar in red, my jazz flute just went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to happen. If you want to keep your jazz flute, turn your blue upper on and then turn on one of your red orchestrals. You have to have, if you have 2 sounds, one from red and one from blue, you must have on the commands as well.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that is an excellent question, and that happens to people all the time. Oh my gosh, I touched this and it went away. If you want to keep that jazz flute or whatever sound you have in solo, you have to then turn on one of the commands. Tell it where it's going, and you can tell it to go up, you can tell it to go down, you can actually tell them to go both places. I now have a piano and a jazz flute. Both sounds are going up, and they're both going down. You don't need them both up and down, though, do you? Here's where it gets tricky. Let's say I have 2 sounds and 2 commands. Oh, now what? 2 sounds. 1 sound from each section can go both places, but 2 sounds in 1 section and 2 commands. Now what happens? They split the difference, and 1 sound is going to go up and 1 sound is going to go down. So you have to know how to read this. If you have 2 commands, that means you've split the sounds. How do I know which one is going where? The solid light goes up,
And
and
the
it's the
blinker
first
goes down.
and the blinky one goes down. That's correct. How do I know how to make one flashing and one solid? The first one you touch is going to be the solid one going up. The second one you touch, and you have to hold this one down while you're doing it, the second one you touch will now be the blinky one, and it's going to go down. Okay? 2 commands, 2 sounds in the same color splits the sounds. The first one that gets touched goes to the upper. The second one you touch and blinks goes to the lower. Same
And
thing happens in solo.
If you only have one Orchestral Genius button lit, both sounds will go to the top and the bottom?
If you only have 1 sound in the orchestral lit and both commands, then it's going to send that 1 sound to both places.
Okay.
But if you have 2 sounds from 1 section, we're still talking just red, and 2 commands, 1 sound goes to the top, 1 sound goes to the bottom.
Okay.
Same thing happens in blue. If I give myself a trumpet and a violin, and I have 2 commands, I'm going to send it to upper, I'm going to send it to lower. If I just touch trumpet, trumpet goes to upper, and it also goes to the lower. If I add another sound, like a jazz flute, now it's going to split the difference. 2 sounds, 2 commands, 1 goes up, 1 goes down. Are you confused yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a lesson that you really have to teach over and over and over again, and you just have to start taking command of your organ and saying, I'm going to learn how this works, darn it. Because when you want to design your own Christmas sounds, or when you want to get rid of, you change the top, change the bottom, without disrupting the other sounds, you need to know where all those sounds are going. Okay, girls over here, did I completely lose you, or are you okay? Good. Okay. All right. Excellent. So one command, one sound, you just tell it where it's going, up or down.
Okay.
One command, one sound in the blue, you just tell it where it's going. Two
Okay.
commands, one sound, goes both places.
Mhm.
Two commands, two sounds, it splits the sounds. One goes up and one goes down. The first one you touch is solid. The second one you touch is blinky. Blinky goes down.
Don,
Yes.
if you have a song setup song,
Uh-huh.
or you have a book
Mhm.
that you're doing,
Yep.
and you have a song, can you go in and change that after you click on song setup?
Yes, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Yes. Yes. And that's why this lesson is so important right here. If you understand how this works. Now, don't forget, you also can layer those sounds. Now, right now, if I look at this, I have upper on and lower right, and I have a jazz guitar blinking, and I have string solid, I have trumpet solid, and I have jazz flute blinky. So what that tells me is I should have strings and trumpet going to the top, and the blinky ones go down, jazz flute and jazz guitar. Right? And I could tell that just from looking at this. Now don't forget you have tabs. Your tabs are always going to go to the upper keyboard. So if you've got some of those tabs on, I could have now vocals going along with my strings and trumpet. I could have more strings. And I can add some organ sounds. So now you're starting to figure out where those sounds are coming from. Now let's talk about the geniuses. The geniuses, because the geniuses can be tricky. These can be anything you want. And yes, some of you only have geniuses up here for reds and blues. How do you get to them? They are in alphabetical order. Once more, I'm going to just shut everything off, and we're going to try to find some stuff. All right, so if you've got your
that where-
numbers in front
Don,
of you. Yeah.
Is that where you would find trombones
Yeah. Oh,
in
yeah,
the
absolutely.
Genius?
Absolutely.
Okay, because it doesn't have a button up there for,
Correct. Yes.
so you
Correct.
can go to the Genius.
Yes. Your genius
Okay.
is everything else. If it's not
Yeah.
on board here, it's in the
It's
geniuses.
like miscellaneous.
Yep, it's miscellaneous. That's exactly what it is. And this one, and I just happened to pull up a prestige book, has like 4.5 pages worth of sounds. And they're in alphabetical order. So if I wanted to find something for my upper, and right now I turned everything off, got nothing on, and I'm looking for, okay, he says a trombone, let's find a trombone. I'm going to turn on my upper on for red, and I'm going to push a Genius button, and when I touch Genius 1, it's going to show up in the window. Right now, it says jazz guitar. That's a G. Where am I going to find trombone? T's. So remember, alphabet goes A, B, C. You got to know your alphabet. So I'm holding the scroll button, and it is now going to the L's. I'm just holding it down. The O's. It's going through all the sounds alphabetically.
You don't have a keyboard you can go to, right?
Pardon? A keypad.
You don't
Yes,
have a
I'm going to show you
keyboard
how
that
to do. I'm going to show you how to do the keypad too. Yep.
Okay.
I'm telling it to go to the upper one. There's trombones, and there's several trombones. So now, trombone And I don't have to push select or anything. You just scroll, and when it's in the window, it's there. No selecting on this. It's already there. Okay, there's a trombone. Now you can scroll to audition other trombones. If I scroll to the next one, it's trombone 2. I can scroll to the next one, it says bass trombone. They all have different tones. Bright trombone. Dixie trombone, okay? They all have different tones. Muted trombone.
If you want to duplicate a trombone section in a band,
Uh-huh.
can you put like 4 of those together
Sure. Yes, you can.
on the upper key, on the lower or upper keyboard?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can combine 4 of the, you can take the Tommy Dorsey trombone and combine and put that in Genius 1. And then I can take Genius 2 and find a different trombone. And as long as I've got 1 command and 2 sounds, they're both going to go to the upper keyboard. Then I can do the same thing over here in this Genius. I can find 2 different trombones, a trombone slide and a trombone bass, put it in Genius 1 and Genius 2 by scrolling. 1 command sends them both to the upper, so now I could have 4 trombones making its own trombone sound. That's a Dennis Aw trick, by the way. Dennis Aw creates some of the most fabulous sounds by combining like instruments of a little different kind. And then when you add your harmony, it's going to sound like the entire section is there. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty
there's a
cool
lot of-
stuff.
If you're
Now-
trying to duplicate a band, it's
Yeah.
the only thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a band, let's face it, every person playing a trombone in a band is going to have their own tone. So that's why sometimes combining 2 or 3 different trombones creates a more realistic trombone section. Now, that took a little bit of time to scroll, didn't it? There's a faster way to do this. That's why get your book out. Your book, if I look in my book and it's in alphabetical order, there should be a number next to my trombones. Aha. From 215, yep, all the way to 219, 220 actually, I have trombones. So all I have to do, go to your home page, go to the one that says keypad. Keypad. Now, if you have a Legacy, this is not going to work because a Legacy is the only one that does not have the touch screen. You're going to have to scroll. It'll show up in the window and you just scroll, and it's in alphabetical order. But anything from a Rhapsody on up will have that touch screen. You go to the keypad. Here's my numbers. It's like a telephone dialing pad, and I'm just going to dial in. I want a Tommy trombone. It's number 219. So I'm going to touch 219. Okay, it's in the window. Now I have to put it someplace. Here it is. It's on the tip of my finger. I have to put it someplace. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put it in Red Genius 1. Touch it. Ooh, there it is. Then it'll show up in my window. That's the fast way to do it. If I want a different trombone, I can go to Slide NT. Oh, that's actually 221. So now I'm going to touch 2, 2, 1. And by the way, as soon as I touch Genius, the number magically flies out of the window and goes into that Genius button. So there's 221. Here it is. And when I'm going to put it in Red Genius 2. Boom. Aha, and it says in the window, trombone slide NT, orchestral 2. Now I'm going to push 1 and 2 together and play them at the same time, and it's going to sound like one trombone, but it's actually 2 players playing. And it just has more presence than if you just would have had one trombone. So you can use like trombones, like horns, and create your own new tone. It's kind of fun to experiment with that. Questions
Dawn?
about using the numbers? Yes.
Dawn, I have 3 trombones listed under my Genius voice list.
Uh-huh.
They don't have any numbers. I have a plain trombone. You gave me the number for the slide NT. And then there's Tommy trombone, which you said
Which
you have
organ
to
do you
put
have?
numbers. Huh?
Which organ do you have?
Legacy.
Legacy's not going to have the numbers because it does not have the touch screen.
Oh, okay.
So you go, when you touch your Genius, it will show in your little window what instrument is there. And then you touch your scrolls and just scroll in alphabetical order until you get to the one you want.
Yeah, well, I would either have to use trombone. Now, if it's trombone Tommy, will that come up, Tom's?
If you have it, if it's in your Genius list, it'll be in alphabetical order in your list.
Okay, well, I should have all of them because it lists 3.
Okay, then you'll only have those 3, and you can actually put 2 together, 3 together. You can actually put all 3 together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I noticed there was a trombone in my red, but no trombone in the blue.
Yeah, you can put them in the red. You can put 2 more in the blue, or you can put 1 in red, 1 in blue, and then if you've got the tabs, you can also put 1 in the tab. You can actually put 5 trombones together if you want, depending on how big your instrument is. Some of the smaller instruments only have 1 Genius in red and 1 Genius in blue, and then you put those 2 together to create new sounds.
Oh, okay. I think I do have a Genius in the red and the blue. I have to take a look
So
at
you
it.
can put 1 trombone and another trombone, or you could put a trombone and a trumpet.
Yeah, I got the trumpets on there.
Yeah, you could put trombone and trumpet and put those 2 together.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about this. You could. That's why with the Sterling and the Patriot and the Liberty, they're just Geniuses. This is the best way to do it. Sure, you can scroll, but it's going to take a long time because you got a lot of sounds. If you know the number, you can go ahead and put that in there and tell it where it's going. So now I have a trombone that's actually 2 trombones combined. Let's do something different. Let's take a shakuhachi. Shakuhachi is number 271. Okay?
Could you move that to the bottom,
Yeah.
to the bottom keyboard?
Yeah, 271. And I'm going to put it in Blue Genius 1, but I'm going to tell it to go to lower right. Blue Genius 1.
Check out those Geniuses.
It's like a flute, like an oriental flute. You can hear the breath. Pretty cool, huh? That's a nice sounding flute, actually. It's a shakuhachi. Yeah. It's a nice flute. And if you wanted to put that with something else, you could put that with something else. We could say, okay, how about a shamisen? A shamisen is number 316, and I'm going to combine it with my shakuhachi. It might sound terrible. It might sound okay, but let's try it. 3, 1, 6. I'm going to put it in my other Genius, and here's the shamisen. Ah, that's really an oriental. And then I'm going to push the Genius 1 and 2 at the same time. And remember, 1 command, 2 sounds. They both go wherever you're telling it to go. That actually sounds pretty nice together. Because the shamisen actually gave it a little bit of percussive pop that you can play some jazz songs with. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Pretty weird.
Yeah. Okay. So 1 command, 1 sound wherever you tell it to go. 1 command, 2 sounds in the same color. They're both going to go wherever you just told it to go.
Don,
Yes.
so you hit the sound, you hit both sounds at the same time to make them so that they combine?
Correct. You
Okay.
hit them at the same time to make sure that they're both on so that you can layer them together.
Okay.
Or 2 commands. Remember, if you have 2 commands, like if I now have upper on blue and lower right blue, they're not both going to both keyboards. It's now splitting them. 2 commands means that the solid light is going to the upper keyboard and combining with whatever else I had going on in the upper. And the only thing going to the lower right is now the blinky light in blue. That shamisen. going down. Okay, and now my shakuhachi is combining with my trombones on the top. And that sounds pretty terrible, so I'm not going to do that. But this is just some of the fun you can have trying different things and designing your own sounds. And remember, putting like sounds together sometimes creates fabulous things, like combining 2 or 3 trombones, or combining 2 or 3 trumpets, or combine a trumpet, a saxophone, a trombone, and now you're putting your band together and telling it all to go to your upper keyboard or down to your lower keyboard. Do not forget, your tabs go to the upper keyboard, and they're going to layer with anything that you already have up there. So I'm going to send that shamisen back down here with my shakuhachi. Now I have the trombones going up, and I have vocal, strings, flute, 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 and I'm going to turn all those upper tabs on, and that's going to layer with those upper on trombones. So I have the whole organ and orchestra going on behind the trombones. So you can actually get, that's how those big sounds actually get formed. Okay, now, you want to try it with some songs, or are we a little confused yet? You got this?
Dawn,
Yes?
would you go over one more time the order in which you push the buttons to get them to do what you want them to do?
Well, you just got to tell them where they're going, okay? Usually I'll push my command first. Where do I want the sound to go? Push the command first, or else you might run into the problem of I had something set in the blue solo, and then the minute I touch up or on or over here, it's going to turn one of them off.
It goes away, yeah.
So make sure you touch a command first. So up or on, and then find your number, or find your number and then tell it to go where you want it to go in the Genius one, and you've already got the command on, so it's telling that sound which keyboard it's going
But
to.
you've already pushed the Genius button.
You don't have to touch. The only time you need to push Genius first is if you're scrolling.
Okay.
If you're using the numbers, you find the number first.
Uh-huh.
And here it is. It's on the tip of my finger. And then you tell it where it's going. And you just push the one you want. And you don't have to push it first. You pushed it now by telling it what number you want.
Okay.
The
So you
only
only
time
push
you
the-
have... Go ahead.
You only push the Genius button when you need to scroll.
Correct. You only need to push that Genius button. It shows up in the window if you need to scroll to get to something else. If you don't have your list with you, sometimes you need to scroll.
Yeah.
Or what if you're not sure what you want? What if you just kind of want to take potluck and see what's there? Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll just push a Genius button and start scrolling and going, oh, let me see what I want. Oh, that sounds like vocal analog. Sure, let's try that. And if you don't like it, you keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. If you don't like it, just keep scrolling until you find something you do like. You do not need to touch select when you have a sound that you like.
Okay,
Right.
so, great.
Yep.
Dawn,
Yes.
is there an index for a number for the keypad for the instruments in your
Yes.
book?
Yes, it's on
And where that is?
Yep.
At the back.
It's at the back. It's called your Genius Voice List.
Okay,
It will list all the voices that you have in your organ, and the numbers that correspond to it will be next to it. The numbers are not necessarily in order.
I tried it and I have, the trombone slide up there and it went right to it. I did 221 but it still sounds like an organ.
Aha, that's because your tabs are on.
I turned them all my lower tabs, okay.
Ah, you have to turn
But
that upper tabs off.
The right upper tabs are still on.
Okay, if your right upper tabs are on, then it's going to still sound like an organ if you've got all those organ buttons.
Even I just have upper tab, just one light. You don't want that on either?
If you turn your red upper tab is the master control for all these tabs. I can have every single tab, every single flute lit, every single string lit, and every single tab can be lit here. But if my upper master tab, which is the red one in the middle, if that one is off, none of those are going to sound.
Okay.
Okay? When
All
I
right,
turn it on, that's when all those organ sounds come in. So if you're getting
Okay.
organ sounds, it's
Well, I
because,
turned it all off now. So now I've got just the upper tab on, and I have trombone slide NT in the window, and I had pressed the Genius 1,
okay,
and that's all I had to do.
where's your command? Which command do you have on?
I have on Genius 1.
What's the command?
Where?
The command is, what are you telling, where are you sending it? Are you sending it to upper on, red upper on, or are you sending it to red lower right? You have to have one of those. Tabs pertain to tabs. Your upper tabs only pertains to tabs. You
I have
must
upper-
have that upper on
Yeah,
or your lower right on in order for that Genius sound to go
Yeah.
where you want it to go.
okay, I just, now it sounds like it. I just did it.
Okay,
Okay.
see? Yep, now you got it.
Yeah,
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Dawn, I got a question before you go on.
Go ahead, Ramon.
I follow all that you just did. The only
Okay.
thing I couldn't do was sound effects.
Sound effects. Sound effects you may only be able to put in your green Genius button.
But I can't put it on at the bottom
I don't
keyboard.
think you can put sound effects into upper keyboard. I do believe
Okay.
your sound effects will only work
On the Genie.
on
the
your
sound
sound
Genie.
effects section,
Okay.
which is your green toy box over
Okay.
here on this side.
Yeah, because I tried to put it down on the lower right
Yeah.
keyboard and it didn't
Uh-huh.
work, but it did come on my Genius sound effects.
Now, sound effects is a whole lesson by itself because you can actually put sound effects on this part of the lower keyboard or this
Right.
part of the lower keyboard, but that you get through the features.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You learned something. That's, yeah, excellent. All right, now, I have all of these things. Hope you took some good notes, but I do have all of these things here. The tabs, it's going to tell you what color goes to what for the upper tabs. It's also going to tell you then 1 and 1, and I think what I forgot is one command and 2 sounds still goes to the same place. I did forget to put that in here. Red 2 sounds. Oh, nope, I did get it right. So I've got all of these. I did this late last night. So it's going to tell you if you've got how many sounds and how many commands, where they're going. So this is all going to be on Patreon. So if you forget, you can keep this in your manual. If you forget, all of this stuff that we just did is going to be listed right here. The last part of my page is going to be let's try some songs. And I know we're getting close to 3 o'clock, but you know what? Let's try a couple songs. If you guys don't mind hanging with me, we can try a couple things. This is the hardest part of the organs to figure out, guys. It really and truly is. But once you understand this, you know, you feel like, yeah, I'm the master, this is the slave, and now I can make anything I want with this instrument. All right.
Dawn,
Dawn, could-
Go ahead.
what's that sheet that you just held up that we could ask for? Oh,
No, this will be on Patreon on Thursday.
and what's that called? Is that
It's just A and SU workshop, Reds, Blues, and
Okay.
Tabs, Saturday, April 10th. It's dated.
all right?
Okay.
what was the name of the sheet that had the black tabs on it? Does it have a title at the top other than yours?
What, this?
Yeah,
I just cut that out of a I just made a copy of a manual page and cut it out and pasted it on here.
I'm looking for that page. I don't see it in the manual. That's why
It should be there. It should be there. Now, if you've got a Sterling, a Patriot, a Liberty, or a Symphony,
Page
it's gonna show-
72,
yeah, it's going to show something different.
like that.
There you go. There you go. Yep, Inez has it. Yep,
Page 72 on the symphony manual.
there you go. Yep,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Yep.
Okay, now let's
Thank you,
try
Elaine.
a song. Let's try a song. I'm going to play Time in a Bottle. Jim Croce. Okay, you guys all know this. You can't get away from one of these workshops without a piece of music. I mean, we've just been plinking. We're going to play something now. Time in a Bottle. I chose Waltz 2, the Bojangles Waltz, at 116 beats a minute, and that's all listed here as well. And I'm using rhythm preset 0, just as it comes up, okay? And I want you to listen and see what you think. Haven't changed anything. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm going to stop there. I love the sound on the top. I hate the sound on the bottom. Okay, so I want to change this sound. Now, this is one of those sounds that I actually should have started with something different because I have to go into features and I have to change. There's a setting on here that's causing that harmonica to phase. So if those of you that were on Robert's variety class the other day, he got you into some of this stuff. So I'm going into effects and I'm going to turn my solo effect off. So now it's just a harmonica with no phasing. But I still don't want a harmonica down here. I want something different. So what am I going to change it? First, I have to know where the sounds are going. So if I take a look, I see, oh, red upper on, 2 sounds, 1 command. Oh, good. Both sounds on red are going to my upper keyboard, so I don't want to touch red. If I look at blue, it says lower right. 2 sounds going to lower right. Oh, good. That tells me that if I want to change those, I'm going to be changing the geniuses in, or just picking a button to go down here to change it. So if I turn off Genius 1 and Genius 2, I now have chords all the way to the top. I got nothing going on down here. What do I want to change it to? Let's change it to a flugelhorn. And I can get to that by going to keypad 213. And these are not the best sounds in the world. I just chose some stuff. And I think I also would like that violin to go down there. So a violin combined with a flugelhorn, touch them at the same time. And now that's going to be on the bottom. What I did is I now got rid of the harmonicas. But did I mess this up? That's always the question. Did I mess this up or is this going to be good yet? Let's find out. Ah, it's perfect. Okay, so I changed the sound down here without messing this up, but I had to know what sounds were going where. Okay, I was lucky in this case because the reds were both going up, 2 sounds, 1 command, and the blues were both going down, 2 sounds, 1 command. So that was pretty easy. I just changed my blues that were going down. Let's try a different song. All right, Everybody Loves a Lover. Let's do the Barbershop at 180, rhythm preset 2, and let's just see how it sounds. Actually, that's not a bad preset. Not a bad preset. But let's change the top. All right, now how do we know what's going to the top? Once again, I picked something where the upper on has one sound, one command. They're both going to the top. That's the vibes. I want to change that. And where it's going to the lower. I have lower right, one sound, one command. That's going to the bottom. Cool. But what else goes to the top? My tabs. So I can't just change my orchestral because it's going to layer with everything that's on the tabs. So if I want to change upper, I'm going to have to change reds and tabs, or turn reds off and just use tabs, or turn tabs off and just use reds. Are you kind of getting the gist of how this works? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to accordion and jazz guitar. No, let's do country guitar. Why? Because they're right there. So I've got two sounds, one command, so I've got jazz guitar and accordion upper, but what the heck about these? All right, I'm going to take the upper Genius tab off, because he's layered in, and I'm going to add a string 16, and I'm going to put a duet on. So now I'm creating accordion, country guitar, string 16, and duet. Without bothering the horn that I had down here. Okay, so the horn should still be good. Perfect. That's pretty cool too. So I made a new sound. Okay, if you like the creation that you made or it fits your concert perfectly, then you save it. You memorize A1 with background, with transpose, doesn't matter, and then turn your memorize off. Now you've saved your own stuff. You're designing your own stuff, which is very cool. All right, it's going to get a little harder. Let's go to a song setup. This was the question we had right away at the beginning of the hour. What if I go to song setup? So if I go to Tijuana Taxi and go to song setup, it brings me to salsa at 98 beats per minute, and it gives me these two sounds, Tijuana brass and a marimba. So now I'm going to end up changing one of these because I don't like them both. Guess which one? I'm going to change this guy. But what does Tijuana Taxi sound like? It actually sounds pretty cool. Okay, yeah, that marimba, it's kind of hard to play that song and get all those repetition things going on. So I want to change the lower. So first I have to figure out what sounds are going where. Ooh, this one's a little more difficult. Well, right now I have nothing in the solo section. Nothing. So all my sounds had to come from tabs in red. And here we go. I've got two commands in red and two sounds. That means one sound is going to the top and one sound is going to the bottom. So I'm going to have to change that upper one without messing up what's, oh no, it's the opposite. I want to keep what's up here and change this one. And remembering that my tabs also go to the upper, so I'm just going to leave those alone. So now, how do I know what's going down there? Well, it's the flashy one, and the repeat's actually on. So my marimba is repeating. I want to change that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to number 53. I already found my numbers, which is a 60s organ. Why? Because I thought it would be kind of funky. And I'm going to put that into Genius 2. All right, now Genius 2 turned solid. This is where it gets tricky. I don't want it going up, and I lost my Genius 1. If you're putting something into a two sound thing, one of them is going to turn off. So you have to remember, turn the other one back on. And you wanted that one to go up. So touch Genius 1 first. Now touch Genius 2 again. And now Genius 2 will be flashing. This is where it gets tricky. I wanted to keep Genius 1 up here because I don't want to change the Tijuana brass sound. But Genius 2 is now the flashing one, and it should be my funky 60s organ. Now, what if I want to combine that with something else? Well, guess what? There's nothing in the blue solo section, so I could take the upper on, turn it off, put the lower right on, and then find another sound or two that I can put in the lower, and it's not going to disturb anything in the upper. So what am I going to do? Piano LX, number 497. Why not? 4, 9, 7. Here it is. I'm going to touch one of my Genius buttons. Doesn't matter which one. Now it's there. So now I've combined my funky organ with a funky piano. And if I want, I can add, if you've got the capability of putting a duet or an AOC down here, I can now do that too. And I've completely changed my song setup. Now, I didn't change the song setup permanently. Song setup is still going to come up exactly the same the way it did. But I've created a new Tijuana Brass setup, and so I want to save it now to one of my banks. So then you would do memorize A2, turn your memorize off with style. It's got to have with style and all that stuff. That's a different class as well. But you'd want to save your work. If you liked what you did, save your work, and then also take some notes. And tomorrow you may hate the sounds and change them to something completely different. Questions so far?
Where's the Tijuana taxi? What category is that under?
It's in the Latin. It comes up under salsa.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's in song setup. Just go to song setup. All right.
I did. I couldn't find it.
It's there.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to the Beatles. Let's do Michelle. Michelle, my belle. And I'm just going to spots of ink at 85 beats per minute. I'm using rhythm preset 0 just as it comes up. How does it sound? Let's see. Oop. I kind of like the top sound, and I'm not too wild about that saxophone. So I want to change the saxophone. So once again, I got to look and see where are my sounds going. Remembering that all your upper tabs, and the only thing that's on is a Genius in the upper tabs. That's going up here. Uh-oh. Now I'm really in for it because I have 2 commands and 2 sounds. And in the blue, I also have 2 commands and 2 sounds. So, wow, I want to change the blinky one. So not only do I want to change the blinky one, I have to remember which one was going on top so I can reset it. So this is where it gets a little bit harder. So I want red. I'm going to put in strings, number 183. Why? Because I scrolled and did some homework. 183. Here it is. I want to put it in the blinky one. Well, when I touch blinky, what happens? It becomes solid. So now it's going to the top. So I want to touch my piano, touch and hold my piano, which is the one that was on, and now retouch my Genius 2 so it's flashing and goes back to the bottom. I don't want to disturb what was on top. I have to do the same thing in solo. I want to find a second sound, and yes, I scrolled and did some stuff. Let's put an oboe down there. Number 256. Here it is. I'm going to touch the blinky one because I want it to be on the one that's down. Touch it. Well, now that's solid, and guess what? Genius 1 went out. So now I have to reset it. Touch Genius 1, retouch Genius 2 so it starts flashing, and now I should have everything back to normal. Let's see. Whichever octave you like. Here's the second sound. And I'm going to add the duet on the bottom. Okay, so I did not disrupt my top keyboard, but I totally changed my bottom keyboard. So now if I
Dawn,
want, I can save my preset. Yes,
Dawn, why isn't your Genius One orchestral lit?
because the piano is lit. The piano up here is lit.
Oh, you didn't have to transfer that to the Genius One?
Oh, no, you don't have to transfer. No, you don't. Now, if you're on yours, it's going to both be Geniuses. So you're going to have to just retouch Genius 1 and whichever one was solid to begin, because here it was piano to begin. Just once I touch Genius 2 and put that sound there, it's going to be solid and the other one's going to go out. So you have to retouch the solid one, hold it, and then retouch the Genius 2 that you just, the blinky one, so that it starts blinking again.
Okay,
You have to reset your
but I
top
don't
one.
have piano up there, so that's why
That's when this gets tricky. That's when this gets tricky. So you have to know where your sounds go. You have to know which commands and what the splits are and what's going where. This is a class that I teach a lot, or I used to anyway, because it's that important. It really and truly is that important. Okay,
And
any
it's
questions?
confusing too.
It's very confusing. Now, if you never have a desire to change one of your keyboards because you love what's going on with your rhythm presets, you love what's going on with your categories, and that's plenty of choices for you, then don't worry about any of this, okay? But it's for those people that say, yeah, I really liked Michelle, but I hated this sound down here, and I keep looking for something that's going to work, but I love that top sound. How do I change this? You can, as long as you understand where those sounds are coming from and where they're going, and you are in control of commanding them to go to their
Wherever.
places. Yep. Now, if you guys liked this lesson and you have a song that you want to work on, okay, go find your PA and say, hey, get together with me in the store and help me with this. Okay, because we all know how to do this. This is not, this is something that we've all done because we all design our concert sounds. This is how we do it. And then we just save it.
And then nothing in the harmony section is going to influence any of what you've done with the red or the blues.
Well, it's gonna either make
It's
it.
going to enhance.
It's just gonna enhance. Correct.
It's not going to change anything.
Nope. Your
Okay.
harmony does not change sounds. It only changes how many extra notes are being played.
At the same time.
At the same time, correct. Yep. It's not going to have anything to do with changing sounds. Changing sounds is your solo, your orchestral, and your tabs for your right hand melody. Now remember, lower left, we crossed that one out. We're not using that. Lower left does put it down into your chords, and we're not going to use that one. We're only talking about changing the sounds for up and down for your melody hand.
When would you use the lower?
If you were like Joe Fontesha and played a lot of piano and you wanted to add some piano to a lower rhythm, let's just try something here. Let's try easy 4/4. Okay. Now I'm going to put that piano in the lower left. You can't really hear it. It's not that loud. But it will actually play one note at a time. It'll play whatever note whatever key you're touching, one key at a time. It's not going to play the whole chord, not like the lower. Your lower tabs will play the whole chord. This will play one note. So if you wanted to make sure you got a loud horn in there, personally, I never use it. personally, it's just why. I've got so many wonderful choices in my lower genius to put down here that I don't even worry about it. And I just worry about reds, blues, and tabs as far as my upper and lower melody hand. And when you create something that you really love, save it. Because tomorrow, if you hate it, you can erase it.
Or maybe if you remember,
Well, if you save it, it'll be there.
I know, but you got to
Yeah.
remember that it's there.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Thank you for the wonderful comments. Thank you for coming today. Remember, Robert's going to post this all on Patreon on Thursday of next week. Don't forget, next week there's no regular Zoom classes because Robert's got special stuff going every single day to celebrate our anniversary of being 1 year we've been Zooming. Oh my gosh. If you would have told me that, we'd still be Zooming, I would have said you're crazy. But I'm so glad we are because I've met wonderful new friends, all of you. And I think it's a blessing for us to be able
Really
to,
is.
yeah, for us to be able to stay at home and learn some stuff and just have a great time with our instruments.
Go to more lessons than one a week.
Yeah, exactly. And just stay in your recliner.
Thanks, John.
You guys are welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Oh, by the way, let Robert know if I did a good job because he's my boss. So.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Go to the beach. Have a wonderful time.
Thank you. In Nebraska?
Oh, well, okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
You are welcome. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me, 5028 at fletchermusic.com. Bye.